Hello, all, and welcome back to a new episode of Movies and Us, a weekly gathering place filled with conversations about movies, stories, and connection. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And today we are doing all of our homework, all of our research for this very exciting Oscar season. And we've covered actually quite a few of them over the course of the fall and the winter. But today we're going to be talking about the film If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. This is Rose Byrne's nomination for Best Actress, and so we gotta cover it. So, all right, Sarah, IMDb summary for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You.
While trying to manage her own life and career, a woman on the verge of a breakdown must cope with her daughter's illness, an absent husband, a missing person, and an unusual relationship with her therapist.
Oh man, I feel the residual stress of this movie just listening to that summary again. So,
Right? I'm tired just from the summary.
oh my gosh, there's lots to talk about. So, in Movies and Us tradition, your one sentence summary for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Sarah, what is yours?
My one sentence summary is never underestimate a woman on the edge of a breakdown.
Yep. She is on the edge the entire time.
Yes, the whole movie. We're just teetering on the edge. It's very stressful.
My one sentence summary is the everything is fine meme in movie form.
It's so accurate. Oh my gosh.
Oh. Well, we will not spoil this movie quite yet. We're going to share our high level thoughts about If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, and then we will give a spoiler alert. So, Sarah, I'm curious how this film landed with you. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You.
Yeah. This is a wild movie. I knew nothing about this going in other than our girl got the nomination. That's all I knew about this movie.
Yeah.
And it's quite a ride. Like, if we took Uncut Gems and Tully and they had a baby, it would be this movie. Like, that is what we're working with here. And I don't know, this movie totally worked for me. I was stressed the whole time, but I had to keep watching. I needed to know what was going to happen next. And the way that this film is just like balancing on that knife's edge of what is this woman going to do? What is going to happen? What is going to set her over the edge? And I had to see what happened next. So yeah, I was hooked. I had a good time with this movie. I was stressed, but that was the point of the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very effective for me. But what about you?
You know, I think I said in my top 10 list of 2025 episode that we did at the end of the year that I've been really loving these slow, contemplative, really grounded films that are kind of exploring a scoped small life. And you could argue that If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You explores a very scoped small story with one character, but it is not contemplative, it is not slow, it is not grounded, it is not soothing at all. And so I think this film is highly effective. It is very much an experiential film, which I think is different. I had to kind of calibrate my expectations of that as the film was unfolding before me. I think I'm like less excited about this film than I know a lot of people are, and being able to portray kind of just the chaos and the stressors and the responsibilities of motherhood. So I would say I'm pretty just like glad to have experienced this. The acting is quite incredible. There's some really interesting things that this film does with like color palettes and sound design that I really loved. But man, if I'm looking for a stressful experience, I would much rather watch Uncut Gems than If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. So I think that's where I land on this one. Maybe it's so effective that I'm like, oh, I can't do this. And perhaps that's how some people feel about Uncut Gems. This is how I feel about If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. I never want to watch this movie again.
Which is fair. I mean, it is a different experience, I think, especially as a woman watching this film, and like neither of us are parents, so I'm sure if we had children then it would be like yet another
Mhm.
layer of stress watching this film. But I think it is very different seeing this portrayed, watching this as a woman, and seeing even as a non-parent all of the things that I can empathize with her about, of just the way that like women are treated in this world and what women are expected to do in this world. So
Yeah.
I that makes a lot of sense to me, that you're like, once was enough. I'm fine.
Right. I'm like, I experienced this in real life.
Yeah. I don't need
Let's
to
do
go
this
back and
again
watch
in
it in
my
movie
movies.
form. Yeah.
Like, give me a toxic man and Uncut Gems, and I'm very pleased to follow his downfall.
Ready to
Yeah,
go.
but I mean, it is a testament to the film's ability to capture some of those very detailed nuances of being a woman and existing as a woman in the world that I think is
Mhm.
very effective, and perhaps we could resonate far more deeply with. Let's give a spoiler alert so we could talk about some of those things, because I actually think some of them are quite interesting. So if you haven't seen it, I Had Legs I'd Kick You. I think it's now available on HBO Max if I saw this
Mhm.
morning.
Yep.
So yeah, you could also rent it, but available to stream and experience this film. So, uh, one of the things that I, f- I feel like the film did an amazing job showcasing is the desperation that this character feels time and time again when she's asking for help from men. And she's continually being dismissed by her therapist, by her husband, by Caroline's husband, by so many of the people that are in her orbit. Like you see that she is truly needing help, and the inability for everyone else to see and to put more responsibility on her. Well, why didn't you handle this? Like, you were supposed to be taking care of this. Why are you asking me about it? It's just like, oh my gosh, how many times have we seen that in the women in our own lives and in our own experiences of a desperate cry for help, which is already very difficult to do for many of us as women, but then to still have more responsibility heaped back on you, it's really tough to watch. But I think captures quite a accurate experience for many women, especially women that are juggling so many dimensions of their lives all at once.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I kept thinking about, is it's really hard to ask for help. Like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure not everybody has that experience, but at least for me, it's really hard to ask for help. It is like hardwired into me to like figure it out yourself, soldier on, suck it up, get like, it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know, that has been ingrained in me. So
Me too.
every
Yeah.
time she like gets the courage to ask for help, I was like, yes, that's such a victory. And then every time they just like slap her down, and it's more and more tragic as the film goes on, as she is becoming more frayed, more frazzled. And as an
Yeah.
outside viewer, I'm watching this and going like, I want to help you. I
Yeah.
can't help you obviously because I'm watching a movie, but it's so interesting the way that like no one around her has any sort of empathy for her or anything that she's going through, and are just constantly taking from her. And there's no one for her to lean on or depend on or to get help from. And you feel that isolation and that loneliness that comes from people just constantly taking from you, so much so that you have nothing else to give, and no one to help you kind of refill your depleted tank. And you feel that desperation, and man, you get where she is by the end of the film. It makes a lot of sense.
Hmm. And it's also interesting to see that when there's someone that is looking to help or check in on her through the character of James, because of the experiences of being a woman in the world, she meets it with the right amount of like cautiousness and like, what do you want from me? Because the possibility of someone genuinely looking to check in on you, when he comes up the stairs, he's like, yo, you're by yourself out here locked out, and like it's late at night, I'm just trying to be here to help. We also as women are hardwired to have a healthy amount of cautiousness with anybody who's looking to be so kind, um, because it's easy to be taken advantage of, because there are the instances where that has been used as a manipulation tactic, as a trap, whatever it is. And so there's a protectiveness that she also has to bear when there is a need that is looking to be met and someone is looking to help. But almost it's kind of like you're really stuck between a rock and a hard place, because you need the help. You so grateful to have someone check on you, but like, gosh, I can't trust you, because there's many a times where the world is not safe for us. And so I think that was also hard to watch, especially knowing that James is like just trying to check in, and the thing that she needs, she also cannot receive because of the state of the world and societal expectations and the experiences of safety that are necessary as well. So I think that was also just, gosh, so frustrating to watch as well.
Well, and I love at the end too when they like finally get into the hotel room and he's sitting there and she's like, "Yeah, the babysitter." And he does not play along and he's like, "I was not here babysitting her. Mm-mm, no, she was screaming and I came in to check on her. I came in to help." And so I love that he is a helper and he's also imperfect. And I think that really like human portrayal of our complexities as people helps kind of ground this, because I mean, with the exception of Jamie, every other man in this is an absolute asshole. Like they all suck. And so it was really nice to have that like counterbalance of somebody who is imperfect but is also trying to be kind and trying to be that helper when and where he can, even though it is imperfect, even though it is flawed. It's nice to see that, because everything else feels like to such an extreme. Her therapist hating her very absent husband just constantly dismissing her. And obviously that's very real and rooted and grounded in reality. But it was nice to see this character who he wants to help, but he's not this like really altruistic, perfect guy either.
Yeah. Yeah. And as a woman watching those early scenes with the two of them, I'm also like, I don't know this person yet, like it feels genuine, but you never know. Is she in more danger again because she's being roped into something that she doesn't even realize, and being preyed upon? And as an audience member, you just want to protect her, And so, uh, her reaction is sound, knowing that if I was in that situation and as a viewer watching her, I'd be like, yeah, don't let him directly into your space, and trust him too easily. And we feel that world weariness from her throughout the film. uh, One of the things that I thought was, while we're talking about like just all of the people that are taking from her constantly, and the fact that she has to absorb the whole time, I think what was most haunting is the ending scene of this whole film. We go on this whole journey with her, right? And she's on the edge of a breakdown. She has her breakdown, attempts to drown herself. And as she's lying on the beach, she says to her daughter, "I'll be better." And that is the experience of being a woman. Like, even when you have done everything that you can to try and keep all the spinning plates in the air, when one of them falls inevitably because you've been doing too much, her conclusion is, "I failed. I didn't do enough. I need to do more." And I think that is the most haunting thing about this whole film, is that there is no growth and catharsis in a better direction. It's actually the wrong conclusion, and the cycle will continue. And I feel like it's an incredibly like dark and cynical ending for what is already quite a traumatic experience of a movie. But I think that's also the point. That's the exclamation point that the film is making by the end of the film, of like, and the cycle will continue, and it's probably going to be worse next time, because she's going to try and do more and put the responsibility and the guilt and the shame once again back on herself, and no one is there to rewrite that narrative for her. And so that narrative will continually be confirmed. At least that's how I read it, with my dark and cynical dark storm cloud. interpretation.
I love it when you're a dark storm cloud. It honestly is my favorite because normally I am the dark storm cloud, and it's nice to have a fellow dark storm cloud with me.
Yeah, we're in this together. Just raining on everything and everybody's party.
Yeah, man. It's a great
Hmm.
time. Honestly, more
Hmm.
people need to do it. But
How did you
yeah,
interpret that ending?
I think it was such an interesting ending because she flings herself into the sea so many times and it spits her out every time. And I think that that's a really just interesting way to end this is she she doesn't know what else to do. So she's trying to leave this earth and leave her life because she has reached that point of desperation and she can't even do that right. And so it's this like I don't know, it feels like the natural conclusion to what she has been doing the entire film. She's just trying to do something and it's going wrong at every single step. And then yeah, I for her daughter to find her, I think is a very interesting choice. And I don't think you see the dad anywhere. It's just the kid. And so even for a mother to say to her daughter after this very serious attempt that she makes, I'll be better. I don't know. I think it is pretty haunting that I don't know how much of that her daughter witnessed, but for her daughter to find her in that state and for her mom to be like, I'll be better. It's very heartbreaking. It's very sad. And I don't know. Hopefully, she is able to find a support and find help that she needs. But more than likely, it's going to be more struggle that we've seen for, the last 2 hours. So, yeah, I think I read it maybe more darkly than a lot of people did and more heartbreaking more than anything else, I think.
There's an amount of distance for most of the film that we have from Linda's character. We see her doing a lot of things, but we haven't heard her truly articulate a lot of how she feels about what narrative she's in and the things that she's telling herself. I think the scene where she goes to the group therapy session for the first time and kind of has that outburst, it's the first time we see everything that we thought that she was thinking about herself. She is, in fact, thinking about herself, that it is her fault, that she is responsible for everything that's happening. And I think that last line of I'll be better is that continual doubling down on that is the narrative. I am the sole responsibility of everything that is going wrong and I've failed. And so therefore I need to be better. I need to serve better. I think that is so tragic to see because that's such a narrative that needs to be rewritten and identified and uprooted and replaced with a healthy view of and a realistic view of what's happening. But no, it feels like no one's going to be there for her to be able to do that. Her husband, sure as hell, is not going to be there to do that. And I think the huge violent ocean crash sound that happens after she says that and it fades to black and we hear that like ocean waves crashing on the shore again. It's quite eerie and ominous and it feels like she's just going to get whipped around by the waves again and again and again, metaphorically in her lifetime until something can truly invade and come in and seek a better path of healing. But yeah, just knowing that the experience we went on for this 2 hour period of time of everything that's happened in our life is almost going to happen again and again. It's quite tragic, honestly. You feel her beating herself up about it. Gosh, don't we do that as women?
Ugh, yes, it's so easy to do. And I love that like throughout the film you're constantly hearing people tell her it's not your fault. That is everywhere in this film and
Mm,
you just feel her not receiving it. And I loved that group therapy session because the doctor leading it is talking about blame and shame and all of these things and the one mom
yeah.
starts just like breaking down in tears and you can just feel Linda like recoiling from that, because
Yeah.
she can't accept what's being shared. She's not in that place. She's not perceiving that the way that maybe some of these other moms are. And so I love the way that that scene is filmed, because we also, as the viewers, because we've been steeped in Linda's mind for so long, it's like, well, why are you crying at this? Like, suck it up and move on, because that's very much like Linda's thought process and how she sees the world. And so I thought that that was just a brilliant and pivotal scene that really like ratchets up the tension as she then continues to spiral even more quickly to the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that like that it's not your fault scene. I'm just thinking about Goodwill Hunting and this very emotional, very beautiful moment. And that is not the experience of Linda in this scene. And it's picking up on like quite an accurate reality of like the platitudes we throw around to each other, at each other, that are not that easy to receive, you know? Like there's a lot of unpacking and time walking that out and doing the heart work to uncover like what well, so you're telling me it's not my fault, but it still feels like my fault. And in fact, you telling me it's not my fault is making me feel even more strongly that it isn't my fault. And I think that like this like toxic positivity era that we live in right now very much operates that same way. It seems like if we throw the right platitude at you, shouldn't you be able to like get it? And it's not that fast, you know? Undoing those wrong mentalities, a wrong view of ourselves doesn't happen quickly at all. In fact, it's like this long wrestling and 3 steps forward, 10 steps back process of beginning to believe it and then sliding all the way back to be like, nah, that couldn't be true, you know, like this is who I've always seen myself to be. And so I think that is a fascinating like emotional dynamic when we see that actually the trigger is being told it's not your fault, that allows, that actually opens up and ignites the doubling down that Linda does of like, what are you guys talking about? It's actually all of our faults, which is not healthy for everybody else in the room, but that's very real. I felt that before. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I loved that scene. She's just over it. She's done. She's like, screw all of you. I'm out of here. I don't need this anymore. Oh man. And you feel that like she has this moment of release and things don't get better, but you feel that like, oh, she was finally able to express herself after suppressing herself for so long.
And then she gets blamed for it. She gets blamed for leaving. No one, her husband, no one's asking the question of like, gosh, that must have been really hard for you. Like, what was that like? What did you feel afterwards? What were, did you go to the car and just sit for a while? No one cares. In fact, everyone around her is like, you didn't show up to your session? Don't you, aren't you supposed to be doing that? You know, she's once again getting blamed uh for not doing whatever duty that she was supposed to be doing, instead of coming with this posture of just seeking to understand like, oh, you blew up, you left your session, what happened, like what, how was that for you? That must have been hard, you know. No one's taking the time to understand. Listen, if you're walking out of a therapy session, you should
Yeah.
not be blamed for not going to the therapy session. You're like, if anything, you're like, you probably really need the therapy session. Let's talk about how we make this more positive experience for you to show up again this time.
Well, and she has such a bad relationship with her therapist slash kind of coworker. Like
Yeah, so
that
weird.
is so messed up. Oh, and then that moment when she's like, she's pouring out her soul to him. She's giving voice to all of these things. She's being so vulnerable and expressing all of these things that she doesn't tell other people. And then he breaks up with her as a therapist. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so damaging to this woman who, again, has been suppressing her emotions for so long, stuffing it all inside because she has to be under control, because everything has to be under control. And she's finally giving voice to all the things. And he's like, nah, dog, we're done. It's like, oh God,
Hmm.
this poor woman.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
rough.
And then I think it's fascinating to see the dynamic between her and Caroline. Let's talk about that because that feels like a really interesting layering of showing patterns. And while Linda is supposed to be helping Caroline, actually, they have so much more in common than they even realize. So, tell me your thoughts about the Caroline moments that were so chaotic.
They were so chaotic. I was like, "Oh God, Caroline, what are we doing?" But yeah, I think it's really fascinating the parallels between these two characters that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see, and the way that Caroline will show up and say a thing, and that's either something that Linda has been feeling or experiencing, or she will feel and experience. And so just that constant parallel, especially in, how Caroline relates to Linda and how Linda relates to her therapist, all sorts of weirdness there. Obviously,
Yeah.
the relationships to their children are very complicated in this moment. And I think it's also interesting that when Caroline runs away, she runs to the beach and then Linda like lets her go. And then a few scenes later, Linda is back on that same beach, running into the waves. So I think that there's some really interesting parallels that this film is playing with these two characters that on the surface shouldn't have so many things in common, but actually share a lot of similarities in the stages of life that they're in.
Yeah, yeah. I think Caroline's like one step down the path that Linda is also on, but neither of them really realize it. And they're theoretically could be more of a camaraderie and an understanding that they have for each other. But I think they also sometimes trigger each other as well, because they can maybe see that there's like a resonance, there's a similarity between the two of them that is a mirror for themselves to see themselves and like not really acknowledge. I think this is actually more for Linda. It maybe not is not bi-directional. Caroline is not looking at anybody. um, but I think one of the most interesting parts about the two of them and the similarities between the two of them is that there's a clear frustration with the role of mother that they're working through, and um, feeling like the kind of the pressure to like be this vision of a mother that is kind and patient and grateful and excited moment to moment about being able to care for this little one. And the reality is sometimes it's incredibly frustrating and they question if they made the right choice or not, and I think that's a really fascinating commentary around what like a lot of mothers experience. A lot of friends that I have that have become mothers that have voiced like to to feel frustration and to voice negative feelings about the idea of motherhood feels like they're being ungrateful, like they're cold-hearted and all this stuff. And in reality, like motherhood is incredibly trying and difficult. And when there is no space from society to express those things, they get suppressed and they end up coming out in these different ways. And I think that's a fascinating parallel between the two of them is their relationship to their children is complex. It's not as simple as this this generous, grateful, nurturing instinct that is kicking in, and they are blossoming to become their true selves finally as a mother. No, it's a lot more complicated. The love is there, very much so, but it's a lot more difficult. And I think the guilt that I'm sure comes with even thinking those thoughts is terrifying and horrifying. And when there's no space for those to be expressed, we get what we get in this movie, which is lots of breakdowns.
Lots of breakdowns. Yep. And neither one of them seems to have like a good support system
Yeah.
either. I that that moment when Caroline leaves the baby and Linda has to figure out what to do, and she calls the dad, and the dad's like, "Hey, I'm at work. You can come bring the baby to me." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
The fact that he's like, "No, it's not my problem." I was like, "Sir, this is your child too. What is wrong with you?" So I loved that conversation, and I think that was so indicative of so many of the like unhelpful and unhealthy uh societal norms that we have, and this expectation that the mom is in charge of the kids and is responsible for the kids. And I
Mhm.
love the way that even in just that one conversation, it challenges a lot of what we see as normal, especially here in America, while also showing how these two characters, Caroline and Linda, are in a much more similar place than maybe we would have initially thought.
Mhm. Mhm. Two incredibly difficult husbands. They have that in common too, don't they? Just shirking responsibility left and right. Like when Caroline's husband is like, she was supposed to be babysitting. Like, what? This is her responsibility. I'm like, once again, your wife is probably having a breakdown right now. Let's seek to understand. Oh my gosh, my wife has left. First of all, where is my wife? Second of all, something must have happened that has caused her to like leave in this way. But instead, she is being blamed. It was just so hard to listen to. I just wanted to reach into the screen and whoop that dude around. Like, why is the woman getting blamed for having a moment? And you need to just have some grace and step in a little bit. He's just the immediate accusations, I think, was really, really, really revealing. This is supposed to be her time with the baby. I'm at work. Oh, so gross.
It is so gross. And I just one of the things that's always bothered me is this idea that like women can have it all. And like you can be a mom and you can have a career
Yeah.
and you can, like do all the homemaker things and you can be like healthy and fit and look beautiful. Like you can do all of the things. And I'm like, that's unrealistic for a lot of people to do because it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that this film is kind of challenging that and like, this is a lot. Being a woman is a lot. I'm not a mom, but being a mom is a lot. Working in this day and age is a lot. Managing all the responsibilities that are put on you is a
Yeah.
lot. And just really coming at that idea that like you have to be, the perfect uh professional. You have to be the perfect mom. You have to have all of these things in order. And like, no, that's really unrealistic. And when
Mm-hmm.
we try to do those things, it's not good for us or anybody else around us. It's really
Mm-hmm.
unhealthy to have these like standards heaped onto you. And when we try to live up to them, it inevitably ends in disaster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And homegirl's falling asleep during her sessions. So relatable. She is trying so hard to show up for her clients. And she's just like when I think one of them like leaves to go to the bathroom, she just like takes a little 3-second snooze. And I'm like, I understand that exact feeling of like, let me just close them for like a few seconds, just a moment of rest. Because she's having to deal with everything outside of work and hold all of that together as well. One of the things that I think is really well done in this film, speaking of it being a very experiential film, is the sound design. Uh, Many moments. Caroline's baby crying at the appointment. I swear they turned the baby crying knob all the way up because and it lasts so much longer than we want it to. Like we are not allowed to be out of that moment because our character is not free from that moment yet either. And so we just got to hear Riley cry for so long. I also thought it was really fascinating in the drop off sequences the combination and the cacophony of like cars honking behind her and like her child being like, Mom, Mom, whatever, complaining about something. And then the parking attendant is also like in her face yelling, and just the overstimulation of that feeling when we are in our stressed states at the edge of breakdown, where like it feels like everything is closing in on us, everything is demanding or pushing us in some direction. And I felt that so much throughout the film, and I think the sound design does an amazing job of having that feeling of every direction, every voice, every stimulation is closing in on you, and you just can't catch a break. It feels like all the little things, even the detail of like the parking attendant being like, move along, is too much to deal with. And the sound design and the audio design of this film does an amazing job supporting that feeling that is emotional, but also kind of a visceral experience as well, experientially.
Yeah, I need to go back and, like, look at who all is nominated in that sound design category, but I think that this is right up there. Like, the
Yeah.
use of sound in this film is so intentional, like you talked about, and you feel the overwhelm, you feel the strain. Like, there were certain
Yeah.
times in this movie I had to turn the volume down because I was like, it's too much. I'm too stressed by this. Like,
Yeah.
man, seeing this in a theater would have been wild. I could
Oh my
not listen
God.
to Riley cry for that long in a theater like that. But then we feel that overwhelm and that stress that she's feeling. So then those little moments when she's able to sit in the parking lot and eat her Reese's or drink her wine or whatever, you feel that moment of relief and like, girl, I know you need this, but I need this too. I need this break from your life for 30 seconds. And so I think the sound helps emphasize all of that so well so that we understand her need to get away. We understand why it is all too much. Because we also feel very overwhelmed.
Oh yeah. I was so exhausted after watching this. I think I like would pause and like take breaths while watching this, and then start again being like, okay, here we go, throw myself back into this mental state. Gosh, really well done. Another technical piece that I really loved, I think some people might think this is gimmicky, I actually think it was really like nicely done, is that we don't see the daughter at all throughout the film. It's quite eerie, actually, um, because we're used to seeing films about parenthood, obviously, like show the child and the bonds and whatnot. But I think it actually really pushed me to fully empathize with Linda, because I can't see how cute the daughter is. I can't see how, like, the daughter's just a kid. All I feel is this daughter is constantly complaining and demanding and asking for things and being difficult. And there's a few sweet moments where the daughter's like, oh, I'm sorry, blah, 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 for whatever, for yelling or being whatever. But most of the time, the daughter character in this movie is like whining about something. And I feel like because I cannot see the child, there's a dimension of empathy that I can't have for the child. So therefore, all of that empathy is for mom, who's just having to deal with this, like, once again, one of the many voices in the cacophony of requests, demands, pressure, that the urgency, the tantrums, like it feels like a force to be dealt with instead of a human that I could like actually maybe be like, I don't know. Like maybe mom's being a little impatient because the daughter is so dang cute right now with her hamster. There's no room. All my empathy is channeled squarely for Linda. I don't have the capacity or the opportunity to empathize with the child, which is very well done because I was getting so frustrated with the child, not gonna lie, throughout this movie.
Yeah, yeah, that creative choice really worked for me as well. And honestly, at first, again, I knew nothing about this movie. I was
Yeah.
like, is this kid even real? Like,
Oh yeah.
are we going that route with this film? And then other people were interacting with the child, and I was like, okay, so the child is real. We can take that off of the table and move on with our lives. But I love that choice. In in an interview with Vulture, the director Mary Bronstein talked about like finally seeing the daughter at the end of the movie, and she said it's the first time Linda is able to see her as a human being and not an obligation. And I thought that that was also a really interesting way to kind of like frame that. Kind of goes to what you're saying of like all that Linda is receiving is complaints
Right.
and needs and demands and all of that, and can't really see her daughter for, you know, the
Mhm.
beautiful child that she is. But finally by the end she is able to see her in a different light. So I thought that that was a really interesting kind of interpretation of that creative choice, and I think that does work really well. For me, it created
Mhm.
intrigue while watching the film, but I like that added layer of meaning to that creative choice.
That's fascinating. Yeah. And maybe it's like because everything else has been quieted finally by the end of the film that you must reach rock bottom and like clarity strikes because you're not having to like whack-a-mole everything that's happening and keep it all afloat. Like you're forced to stop because you've just had your breakdown and you can see everything in your life more clearly. I've had that experience of like there's too many forces that were pressing on you, and when you finally just break under them you kind of reassess everything. So maybe that's our hopeful ending. I still don't think so, but it could be, it's like, this moment of hope, maybe of seeing the daughter's face, and maybe that changes the relationship, that changes how she wants to parent and show up. Oh no, man, that Violet Ocean crash though, real ominous.
It
There's lots
was
of
really
there's
ominous.
like artistic choices made throughout the film that are like that. Like the ceiling hole is like this looming supernatural force up in there of like dread, like existential dread and anxiety and paranoia that it's like seeping out from that ceiling hole. There's lots of cool moments like that throughout the movie.
Well, and I think it's interesting that there's the hole in the ceiling that she has to deal with, and then there's the hole in her daughter where the tube is. And I don't know, there's an interesting connection there too. And I don't she's dealing with these two things that really aren't related but seem to be related in her mind. That if she
Yeah,
can just fix the hole that is in her daughter, then the hole in the ceiling will also be fixed and they can go back to their normal lives without
yeah,
these extra inconveniences in their way. And in a weird way, she's kind of right because she pulls the tube out and then she goes to the apartment and the ceiling is fixed because her husband came back. So I don't know. I think that that's also really interesting that there's these like two ominous things, these two things that are taking so much of her mental and emotional energy. And she's like, if I can just fix one of them, they'll both be fixed and my life will go back to normal. Um,
which
we'll
is like
see, you know?
which is like a false sense of peace
Yeah.
based solely on circumstances. And when you are in survival mode, that is the
Mm-hmm.
fixation, like that's my fixation is like, if I just get this done, then I'll feel X, Y, and Z. Then I can relax. Then I can take a breath again. And the reality is, life's going to have another hole that's going to show up somehow, somewhere, of something that is wrong, that is looming, that's a source of anxiety, that's a source of unrest, and you take care of one and something else will come. And so it's just kind of the process of having to be at peace even in the midst of all these holes in your life, and just being like, we'll deal with it somehow. I don't know. I think that's it's a natural survival instinct to fixate on, yeah, these circumstances that need to get done so that we can at least move forward and make a feeling of progress towards the next thing. And yeah, all those shots and like this the score that's looming of this like something, it feels like something seeping out of those holes that are like coming for her. That's all really great. Like depictions of anxiety and paranoia that are really well done. Like everything could go wrong, uh, because these things are like seeping out problems, more problems for her.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Which
Yeah.
is just another thing that she absolutely doesn't need.
No, no, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. Okay, other big things, moments, choices that if I had legs, I'd kick you makes that we wanted to highlight.
I think another, just again, sound design, editing, everything kind of coming together is the hamster scene. That was so chaotic.
Oh my
I was
god.
so stressed the whole time. Like, I'm always stressed in movies when people are driving just because they never focus on the road appropriately, and I'm like, "You're gonna get into an accident. This is gonna be bad." But then in
No.
her case, she has the daughter yelling, the hamster is loose, she's being passed to the hamster bites her, she's trying to get it back into the box, and then somebody rear ends her. It was just so overwhelming, so chaotic. I was so stressed. What an incredible scene. It's just absolutely fantastic. The way that everything just piles on top of one another, the way that it's edited together, the sound design, fantastic. It was just one of the more stressful scenes for me in this movie, and it was absolutely effective.
Oh my god. And somehow they found the most ratchet looking hamster on planet
Right?
Earth. That hamster has been through some shit and it is
Yeah.
unwell. It is survival instinct
Hmm.
so strong. It has been through war and it is no longer with us. Like the fact that that scene
Yeah.
ends with gets rear-ended, hamster hops out of case, scurrying through the road, and then tragedy strikes is just like kind of perfect, you know? And then you hear the child like yelling in the car because obviously she's just seen.
Yes.
Oh my God. I was so frustrated when the kid is like begging for a hamster the whole time. So, okay, we gave her the hamster. And then the ungrateful child is like, oh, this hamster doesn't like me. Oh, this is not the hamster. This is not the hamster for me. And it's so perfectly well written because like that is such a thing that kids do. Of just like they think they want something, it's not what they wanted, and then all of a sudden they're like, how could you do this to me? You know, it's very, very good. Children are sweet baby angels, but sometimes they are not because they don't know what they want yet. But it's so good because you know that Linda just got the hamster to like want to give this treat. Like her heart is so one, survival, but two, just like, okay, I'm gonna give you what you want. And then all of a sudden it's not what you want anymore, and now you're blaming me for it. It's like the epitome of that frustration cycle that we've seen her go in. And she thinks that she's doing what will be what the other desires, and then she gets blamed for it. Once again, she is the criminal. So good. So frustrating. The whininess,
Yes.
so well
Oh my
done.
gosh. It was awful. But so effective. Oh man. What a chaotic scene.
Oh, oh God. I never want to live through that scene again.
It's amazing. I love that you would rather rewatch Uncut
Oh,
Gems than
1,000.
rewatch this.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because this hits too close to home,
Mm,
but I would rather watch Adam Sandler gamble away
mm,
all his money any day. I'm like, I kind of am so entertained by that. I was
mm,
0% entertained in this movie. Just pure reality on steroids. I'm like,
mm,
ah,
mhm. Just pure stress. No fun,
pure
just
stress.
stress.
Yeah, yeah.
Got it.
But watching Adam Sandler make bad decisions is quite fun for me. uh okay, any other last big things? I guess one thing that I wanted to mention that I thought was really like neat to see is just the color palette changes from scene to scene. That they felt so intentional, and like, you know, we'd have like the opening scene is like the red room with the hospital equipment, the bedside. Then we see that like she's smoking outside and it's awash in green by the lights of the motel. I just thought it was a neat way to showcase like this woman is going through so many like atmospheres in her life, and just the jarringness of like then she's in the motel lobby and it's a different color palette and she's having to navigate like every realm of her own life. Was fascinating to see. There is no coherence. It's all chaotic. It's all like collaged together, but she's having to navigate like all these different places and spaces and personalities. So uh it they really play up the coloring throughout each scene, and I thought that there's got to be some really intentional choices made there that I thought was notable. Atmospheric.
Atmospheric. Yes, this is a very atmospheric film for sure. Uh, an atmosphere that Jen never wants to be in
Never, I
ever
never
again.
want to inhabit this again.
Yeah, I feel like we have to talk about Rose Byrne. She
Yes.
is fantastic in this. Like, this
Yeah.
film is obviously
Mhm.
centered on Linda. There's so many close shots of just her
Yeah.
face. Like, the camera gets uncomfortably close to her a lot throughout the film, and I loved all of those choices because you feel the claustrophobia, but it also gives you a chance to just see all of the emotions that are just on her face as she is processing through whatever impossible situation has come her way that day. So, just obviously, Rose Byrne got the Oscar nomination for this performance. It is absolutely well deserved. She carries this whole film on her shoulders, and she does
Mm.
a tremendous job in this.
Hmm.
There's so much nuance to her performance as she is going through all of these very, very difficult situations and as things keep just piling on top of her. And yeah, just fantastic performance. She makes this film. It's absolutely incredible. So I'm glad that she's getting her flowers for this because she's great.
Yeah, yeah, she really does carry this film. I was thinking a lot about Charlize Theron in Monster, the 2003 film that we got to watch and cover last year. It feels very similar. Like they're tapping into something deeper and bringing that to the surface and depicting something that is so gritty and real, but does it with so much heart and intention. It was the opening scene where she's in her therapist's office and we're hearing the daughter talk about like mommy's so stretchable like putty, and it's the micro movements in her face, the look in her eye in those scenes, the hold, like we're basically here with her from like right above her eyebrow to like right above her chin, and how much she's able to emote moment to moment in just a few minutes of that opening scene. I was like, oh, I get it. I think I get the nomination now. Excited to see the journey we're about to go on. But like this alone is speaking so much and is a testament to that nom. So she does an incredible job.
Yep, not an easy movie to watch. And I can only imagine how difficult it is to like portray a role like this. And
Yeah.
she does fantastic. So yes, I'm glad that she got the nom. I hope more people will like seek out this movie, even though it is a traumatizing watch, just because it feels like an important film that depicts a
Yeah.
lot of things that like we experience as women, but also just tremendous acting. So, so good.
So good. Go watch If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. It is on HBO Max to stream. Um, yeah, we are excited to experience more of the films as we head into this Oscar season and get prepped up with all of the amazing films that are being recognized. But this one is an important film, like Sarah mentioned, just so much depicted about the experience of being a woman in the society that we live in now and some of the ways that the world treats us, the ways that we often are operating within the wrong narratives as well. There's just so much empathy that I think you can have getting to experience If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, and really understanding a little bit more. All the stress and responsibility of being a woman. I never want to watch this film again, but I'm so glad it was made and so glad that I got to experience it. Maybe I'll palate cleanse with Uncut Gems,
Yeah, have a total normal one, you know?
Right.
Watch this film and then watch Uncut Gems as a chaser. Oh my god. I
Right?
would be in bed
Right.
for a week if I did that duo.
All right. Well, We'll be back soon with more film reviews. Lots of good stuff on the docket coming up the next couple of weeks. We're so excited, so come follow along with us. We'll see you soon. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Movies and Us. We are part of the Movie Archer podcast network, so check out moviearcher.com to learn more.
Our name sums it up. We're all about movies and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories.
You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune to your favorite shows. Drop us a rating review letting us know your thoughts about today's episode.
Connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at @MoviesAndUsPod, or email us at moviesanduspod@gmail.com. Check out our website, andusmedia.co, for the latest on Movies and Us and our other podcast, TV and Us.
We hope you have an amazing week, and we can't wait to see y'all very soon.